Namaste. Welcome to my channel, the UPSC game. These are the important contents which we are going to cover today, so stay focused. Hi guys, my name is Vijay and here we are with another most important topic for UPSC CSC 2025 mains and 2026 mains too. Today we are going to discuss about Sariska critical wildlife habitat, which is a contention point from years between the Supreme Court and the Rajasthan government, right? In this video, we are going to first brainstorm the important topics related to the syllabus, and we also delve into what an actual critical tiger habitat means and why are mines near tiger habitats ecologically harmful, and Supreme Court 2024 order background also, and how do boundary ambiguities impact conservation in Sariska, and role of NGT and Supreme Court in strengthening environmental governance, and what larger ecological region is Sariska part of. These are all very important, and how can states ensure responsible transition of mining areas while preserving wildlife corridors? Well, this should be the conclusion over here. Very much important. I predict this topic would be most important, one of the most important, and would be asked in the UPSC CSC 2026 also, right? And here we start with the important topics related to the environment. That is, the Sariska critical tiger habitat belongs to the syllabus of GS3 environment, right? Under conservation and biodiversity too, right? And the important topics are conservation, environment pollution, and degradation. When we say the environment, pollution, and degradation, all the topics related to the pollution are very important. That is the air quality indexes, world also, and two India air quality indexes. So one air quality index and ambient air quality index, and the WHO, right? And the Gothenburg Protocol, right? And waste rules, that is e-waste rules or bio-waste rules, right? Everything related to this, right? And then there comes the EIA. It is very important, the environment impact assessment. This is the basis between, or the wall between the both, right? We have to maintain the balance of development and ecology, right? So this gives the data for that, right? Or the authenticity for that. There are multiple questions, the PYQs in UPSC regarding EIA, so better give more importance for this, right? And when we say biodiversity, the Biodiversity Act 2002 is of very much importance. And for prelims, we have to learn all the national parks, tiger reserves, elephant reserves, and do the map work for sure. It is very important. And with respect to climate change, which we also do in this channel, so pay attention to this topic, right? Then there comes the sustainable development goals, which has goal number 13, 14, and 15 as most important for the environment, and the electric vehicles. These are also very much important and plays key role in sustainability, right? Next, the mining and erosion. This topic mainly focuses on this area, so give importance to this. And then the river linking projects, the Cane Betwa is there, and recently the Rajasthan river linking is there, right? And UNFCCC, this is also very much important in climate change, right? The wetlands also, the Ramsar wetland sites. You have to get updated with this information. You can't do it at the end of the year. You have to do it every day, right? So let's jump into the topic. Recently, a new plan was drawn up, rationalizing the boundaries of Sariska Tiger Reserve, critical tiger habitat, right? So that it could remove the restrictions of 50 marble and dolomite mines that were closed following the Supreme Court order last year, that is 2024, right? Basically, Supreme Court has given a minimum of 1 kilometer range should be maintained between the critical tiger habitat and the mines or other activities, right? So this rationalization will bypass that restrictions on mining activities, right? Let's go into the topic deeper. You will understand, right? Basically, Rajasthan government wants to balance the development, that is mining, as well as the environment, that is the critical tiger habitat. So they are just removing 48 square kilometers from the most hilly parcels, right? And adding 90 square kilometers of quality tiger habitat from the Sariska buffer, which is around the CTH, into the CTH, right? And these are the areas where the mining will be done. That is the Shyampura, Samra, Gordhanpura, and Baldevgarh, Mallana, Palpur. Just read those names, you will get accustomed with, right? And with the new balancing, the rationalizing act, these areas will from now will not be under sanctuary or national park, right? The Rajasthan government is claiming that this conversion will foster cordial relation between the local community, right? And with the rationale and the motive behind this act is limestone top producer is Rajasthan, right? And it is one of the major source of income for the state, right? But last year, the Supreme Court order in March 2024 asked the CEC to submit a report on this issue, right? Why? Because there was unrestricted entry into it, and the Supreme Court took it suo motu, right? But what this CEC has did is they did not just report about the Sariska Tiger Reserve, but they also took the factors relating to the locals, village, and mining sector also. All these factors they have added by themselves, and Supreme Court has asked them why did they take all those. They said that this is to balance the local contentions which were around this place many years, right? Which was around this place since many years. And in the CEC report, the illegal mining activities are because of poor demarcation. This is the only line which they gave about illegal mining, right? And on the basis of this, the Rajasthan government has accepted the CEC 79-page report recently, and they have done this rationalizing act instead, right? So this is the whole context about this issue. The next topic we are going to discuss is what a critical tiger habitat means, right? The CTH is legally notified core area of tiger reserve under section 38(5) of Wildlife Protection Act. Wildlife Protection Act, you have to remember this. They may confuse you with Environmental Protection Act 1986, right? This Wildlife Protection Act has been amended in 2006, and it is meant to be inviolate, and the highest protection is available at national parks, right? National parks protection is greater than wildlife reserves, right? And biosphere reserves, and so on, right? And critical tiger habitats are the core areas, the inviolate areas where no mining or tourism or grazing or other disturbances are allowed, right? Notification requires consultation with NTCA, state governments, and an expert committee. These three you have to remember for sure, because the state governments will notify, right, on the recommendation of NTCA, right? First, the state government will send an application for NTCA, and NTCA approves it, and then the state government notifies it, right? The rights of local forest dwelling communities must be settled under Forest Rights Act, right? You know about this, right? Where the Gram Sabhas have most of the powers concentrated, right? In Sariska, the CTH covers 81 square kilometers. Rationalization in 2024 seeks to add 4,500 hectares for corridor protection. And about this, we shall discuss in this video itself ahead, right? And you can see only essential research and patrolling is allowed, right? In the exam, they may confuse, the UPSC may confuse you by giving a statement like there is no research or patrolling allowed in the core area or the CTH, right? Then you have to take it wrong, right? Because only essential research and patrolling is allowed, right? That means something is allowed, right? And human wildlife conflict mitigation must happen outside the CTH. That is what the buffer zone is, right? Buffer zone. This is for this, right? Wildlife conflict mitigation, human wildlife, right? The surrounding buffer zone allows limited sustainable use and eco development, right? The next about the critical tiger habitats, we have done it, and we shall go into the main problem. Why are mines near tiger habitats ecologically harmful? Why are mines harmful? What can you say about it? Without reading this, just try it once and go with this video again, right? First, the fragmenting of wildlife corridors, then disrupting tiger movements, hunting and breeding. All this happen, and fragmenting means when a tiger reserve is there, for example, if a mining is allowed here, then this area would be fragmented from a whole large area, right? Noise pollution, dust pollution, vibrations from blasting cause stress and alter behaviors in tigers, leopards, and prey species, right? then water tables are depleted, affecting forests regeneration and prey species, right? If there is no water, then the forest and prey species cannot survive, right? The pollution and habitat loss will make an area unsustainable for big cats and herbivores, right? In Sariska, hillocks near Tehla and Palpur, remember these names? Tehla and Palpur, used by tigers for movement, were blocked by mines. This is very important. You can write this as a case study or an example in any of the environment answers, right? Then in 2023, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change study showed faunal richness dropped by 40% within 2 kilometers of active mining zones. You can understand this. Fauna means the animals, right? Animals have decreased 40% within 2 kilometers of active mining zone. That is, they just flee, right? Flee from there, or they just die, right? High vehicular movement and illegal settlements. Illegal settlements is important. Follow mining activities, worsening forest degradation, right? With that, we have known till now what is critical tiger habitat and why the mining is harmful, right? Then we shall know the background of Supreme Court Order 2024, right? This is very important. Stay tuned with focus. Well, in 2024, Supreme Court has ordered Rajasthan government to shutter 68 mines operating within the 1 kilometer periphery of critical tiger habitats of Sariska Reserve, right? And for the legal mandate, the Wildlife Protection Act and Environmental Protection Act prohibit quarrying in and around the tiger reserve, right? Well, for the background of all these, in 1990s, it started in 1990s with respect to Sariska. In October 1991, a bill was filed by local NGO. The Supreme Court issued an interim order, that is, no mining operations of any nature shall be carried on the protected area, right? And there has been a fact-finding committee was constituted under the chairmanship of Justice M.L. Jain. Jain Committee, famously is known as Jain Committee, right? Then the Jain Committee found in 1992, right, that the protected areas covered about 800 square kilometers. And in April 1993, the Supreme Court ordered the closure of 262 mines within the area, right? Earlier, they ordered no mining operations, right? But later, they have ordered for the closure of 262 mines, right? Why I am repeating all these is because you have to understand the chronology. Because this is what you write in the answer, right? If they ask the background of it, or if you have to write the background as an introduction or something like that, right? Then in January 2002, the Indian, now it is the National Board of Wildlife, right? Then the Indian Board of Wildlife, right, had proposed to notify areas within the 10 kilometers of national parks and sanctuaries as ecological sensitive areas, right? Yes, this. And remember, first it is 1990s, then it is 1992 and 1993 court order, right? Then it is 2002. Remember the chronology, it is very important to have a structured way of imprinting on your brain, right? In May 2005, the board asked the states to identify suitable areas and submit proposal for site-specific ecologically sensitive zones, right? Earlier in 2002, when the Biodiversity Act has been formed, they just said 10 kilometers of the national parks and sanctuaries should be proposed as ecologically sensitive zones, right? But in May 2005, it gave the states to submit an area or submit proposals, right? Then after many states failed to respond, the Supreme Court intervened, right, in December 2006. In May 2005, before this Supreme Court intervention, the Supreme Court ordered CBI to investigate the disappearance of tigers, right, from the Sariska Tiger Reserve. There was incidents of disappearance of tigers. Why? Because there is mining and people would do something or else with them, and tigers would also get in conflict with humans, right? So there were cases of disappearance of tigers from the reserve, right? And tigers may also have moved away from the zone, right? Then in September 2005, the Supreme Court laid the rules for issuing temporary mining permits in the forest areas. In August 2006, that is, this is December, 3 months before that, it said as an interim measure, 1 kilometer safety zone shall be maintained. That is, in 2002, the Board of Wildlife has said that 10 kilometers. But for sure, as a interim measure, 1 kilometers was proposed by Supreme Court, right? Then after in 2008, this is 2006, then after 2008, the mines were back into business. Why? The Rajasthan government claimed that sanctuary boundary had been demarcated. And what did they do? And allowed quarrying outside the 100-meter periphery of sanctuary. The Supreme Court gave 1 kilometers, right? But Rajasthan has said that 100 meters. This is very close, right? the state stuck to 100 meters regulation in its draft eco-sensitive zone notification for Sariska in 2011 also, right? This is 2008 and 2011 too, right? And see the chronology again. First, the 1990s, 1991 there was a bill, right? Jain Committee report has came in 1992, and then in 1993 Supreme Court ordered closure of mines. In 2002, the Board of Wildlife gave 10 kilometers of buffer, and in May 2005, the board asked states to identify them, but they have failed, so Supreme Court intervened. In May 2005 itself, the Supreme Court ordered CBI to investigate the disappearance of, that is a general case, something like that, right? In September 2005, the Supreme Court laid down the rules for issuing temporary mine permits in forest areas, right? In August 2006, it said as interim measure 1 kilometer. The 1 kilometer has came in 2006. Rajasthan government claimed that in 2008, that boundaries of 100 meters, they are strict to eco-sensitive zone for only 100 meters, right? First it was 10 kilometers, then the Supreme Court as an interim measure 1 kilometer, they gave 1 kilometer, and in 2008, the Rajasthan did for 100 meters, right? Before all this, in 2003, the CEC, the Central Empowered Committee, has given a report, and several miners joined the case concerning the Sariska Jamuna Ramgarh Sanctuary, right? The apex court, that is Supreme Court, finally ruled on the matter in June 2022. See, the case was in 2003 and the final verdict was in 2022, right? It ordered ecologically sensitive zones of a minimum width of 1 kilometer. Minimum, that is the interim, as an interim, they have stuck with this, right? For all national parks and sanctuaries, but limited to 500 meters for Jammu Ramgarh Sanctuary as a special case with some leniency, right? That is what the courts always do, right? Mostly, not only courts, mostly every committee or something like that. That is how AP state was formed, right? They have said no, but as an exception, they gave AP, right? Then again, Supreme Court modified the 2022 rule in 2023. In just 1 year, they modified the order, left the specifics of ESZ. They did not give ecological sensitive zone any specific details, right, to the center and the states, and focused on mining. Mining, we have to focus 2023 SC order, right, for mining, prohibiting it within 1 kilometer in Rajasthan, right? And this is and this is a counter to 2022 order, right, where they only said 1 kilometer for all, but 500 for this Jamuna and Ramgarh. But again, they said 1 kilometer for whole Rajasthan, right? Well, all this conflict is, you have to understand that it is to make the balance between the development versus the ecological sustainability, right? Well, this is what the Rajasthan government and the Supreme Court has been doing since ages, and we have to understand, or we have to question one thing, that is, as the Rajasthan government is altering the boundaries to make the mining effective and also balancing it with the ecological sustainability, and why the Supreme Court is strict on them, and how do the boundary ambiguities impact the conservation in Sariska, right? We shall see that. Confusion in critical tiger habitat and buffer limits allowed illegal mining to continue under the guise of being outside protected zones. Illegal mining is major problem not only in Sariska or Rajasthan, throughout India, right? Rajasthan Forest Department and Revenue Department has overlapped land records. That means they are showing that some land is both a revenue land as well as the forest land under the Sariska, right? That is, in 2008, there was a ban on mines which were resumed, citing the outdated maps and lack of physical markers, right? Here it has been done, right? In 2023-24, rationalization process aims to finalize digital boundaries for core and buffer zones, right? In 2023-24, rationalization process aims to finalize the digital boundaries of core and buffer zones, right? Now remember, the CEC, the Central Empowered Committee, that also did their work based on the aim of this, right? And environmentalists warn some finger hills critical to wildlife movement may be excluded without corridor tagging, right? And these finger hills are very, the environmentalists are saying finger hills are very important, but the government would say that the hills are for mining, right? Delays in demarcation delayed eco development and anti-poaching patrols in sensitive terrains. There were always delays. Of course, there would be illegal mining is there, and local representations will also try for their development, right? They would not mostly try for the ecological sensitivity or sustainability, right? The tribals are different. Here, we have to think about the in general public or the in general political parties, right? Then whenever such national or local tussle between the ecology and development occurs, there are some stakeholders or some participants in it, and we have to always remember those things in while writing the answers, right? Those are the NGT, the Supreme Court, right? And also you can also think in a way that NGOs, they all, the UPSC may also ask about NGOs also, their role in such movements or something like that. There are many movements in history. We shall discuss it in other videos. Right now there are many questions we have to do here, right? So for now we shall do with the role of NGT, the National Green Tribunal. It is formed in 2010, right? And the Supreme Court in strengthening the environmental governance, right? And look at this. When the Supreme Court is mentioned, you can write this in judicial activism also. You can write this in environment also, right? You can write this in balance of powers, right? That this is the tussle between the judiciary versus executive, right? That is what separation of powers is, right? And you can also write the Supreme Court as the guardian of constitution, where constitution gives for protection of nature or forests, right? And you can link like that in your brain, just tag all these informations for Supreme Court, right? Then with the role of NGT and Supreme Court, the NGT was, as I said, established in 2010, hears environmental cases and enforces restoration, especially in illegal mining. This is important, right? Pollution and ecologically sensitive zones violations, right? NGT is very important body, right? The Supreme Court ensures compliance through the pills and suo moto cases. The Godavarman case, this is in 1996, right? 1996. And Sariska mining. These are the examples that where the Supreme Court ensured the compliance through pills and suo moto cases, right? We have already seen that Supreme Court has taken suo moto cases, right? And in 2024, the Supreme Court directed closure of Sariska mines based on CEC report, the Central Empowered Committee, right? Reinforcing 1 kilometer no mining rule, right? When did let's recap. When did the Supreme Court said about 1 kilometer no mining rule? How many times? Right? First, after 2002, the Wildlife Board 10 kilometers, right? And in 2005 here, or 2006, yeah, 2006 interim, as an interim measure, they gave us 1 kilometer, and here also in 2022, 2006, 2022, the 1 kilometer, and here in 2024 also 3 times, right? Supreme Court directed closure of Sariska mines based on CEC report reinforcing 1 kilometer no mining rule, right? This overshadows all the previous concessions, right? And this is pro environment, right? Remember that in 2024 Supreme Court directed this, and Supreme Court also ordered buffer rationalization and asked for quarterly compliance reporting, right? The NGT also has penalized several Rajasthan mines under polluter pays principle. Remember this? There was also a case on where the Supreme Court has laid down the polluter pays principle, right? Write that case in the comment section below, right? And endured DMF fund accountability, right? Here DMF is District Mineral Fund will be there, right? That is what they are talking about. And the Central Empowered Committee reconstituted in 2023. Earlier it was in 2000, before the 2003, right? They gave in the report in 2003, right? And this 2023 CEC acts as Supreme Court's technical arm and inspecting ecological violations nationwide, right? Remember this. And earlier the CEC, Central Empowered Committee, was like under government, right? Central Empowered Committee. But here see, it is like a technical arm for Supreme Court, right? This change is towards the ecology sustainability, right? And both forums enforce India's environmental laws, ensuring Article 21, right to clean environment, is upheld, right? It is a very broad article. Supreme Court has reiterated many times in many judgments that it is a very broad or wide article, and it is a lifeline, right? Then this question I have come across through the newspapers itself, that is, what larger area ecological region is Sariska part of? I don't know about this, so it is very interesting for me when I read it, right? Sariska lies in northern Aravalli landscape. This we in general we know that within the Khatiyar-Gir dry deciduous forest region, ecoregion, right? Dry deciduous is very important. When you say Rajasthan, you would just go with thorny or arid, right? But dry deciduous forest ecosystem, forests, right? This is the keyword, and it forms part of critical wildlife corridor between Aravalli Range and Ranthambore and Kuno Palpur, right? Remember, you have to do the map work, right? This is Madhya Pradesh, right? Here it will be, here it is Kuno Palpur, here it will be Ranthambore, right? And what did he say? The Aravalli Hills, right? Madhya Pradesh, Kuno, Ranthambore, Aravalli. It is here, right? Sariska. Then the region supports semi-arid forest biodiversity. We have already seen it, including biodiversity, that is tigers, leopards, sambar, nilgai, and over 220 bird species. Then Sariska acts as groundwater recharge zone. This is important, very important. And you have to, next time when you hear the word Sariska, you have to just remember these words. That is, it has dry deciduous forests, right? It is in between the Kuno, Ranthambore, and Aravalli, right? And it acts as groundwater recharge zone. These three you have to remember. Tag this information to your schema, right? And especially important as Rajasthan faces 30% rainfall deficit in 2023-24, right? And protecting it contributes to ecological stability across Delhi, Rajasthan, and Haryana green belts, right? And there was also program, right, like the Sahara green belt. India also has initiated the Aravalli green belt, right, to stop the Thar desert's expansion, right? Well, to the conclusion of the topic, that is, we have to balance the development, that is the mining or something like that, developmental activities, and the ecological sensitivity or the sustainability also, right? So how can the states ensure responsible transition of mining areas while preserving wildlife corridors, right? Then the answer would be relocate mining operations outside 5 km buffer zone. Well, this is in between, the balance. This is 10, this is 1, 5 would be in middle, right? And conduct detailed impact assessments. Legally notify wildlife corridors. Legally notify, because as there is no notification with regard to wildlife corridors, they are generally disregarded by the developmental activities like highways or the mining, etc., right? Using the forest or ecological sensitive zones laws to prevent fragmentation, right? Use district mining foundation funds, right, for reforestation, water harvesting, and ecotourism infrastructure, right? Use these funds. Implement mine closure policy and scientific rehabilitation, afforestation, water body creation, and soil restoration. These three are scientific rehabilitation methods, right? Afforestation, water body creation, and soil restoration, right? And then convert the closed mines into eco-sensitive zones for community-based tourism and conservation jobs, right? That means there will be development as well as the ecological conservation, right? Both. It is a balanced, very balanced statement, right? Give importance for this statement. Then engage local communities, that is sustainable and inclusive growth, right, through joint forest management and eco development committees, right? Then adopt satellite based monitoring and GIS boundary fixing to prevent future encroachments, right? We are using the boundary fixing in Kashmir or Ladakh regions also, using the geotagging also, right? So why can't we use it here, right? Then state forest departments should maintain transparency portals with live mining and corridor maps, right? Build livelihood alternatives, honey collection, forest produce trade, guided safaris for affected workers, right? Then this is the comprehensive and well balanced understanding of this topic, and no other source can suffice your UPSC preparation as much as this PDF, right? So go to my website and download it, right? Jai Hind. कृतज्ञाहम्